welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something. I'm your host, Seth Hoffman. Today on the show we have Celia Fárran, Bassass Bard-Ess, musician, performer, comedienne, and Dr. Dennis Higgins, retired performance musician and retired educator. Let's be here and have a grand old time. Celia, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk with you, hear your music. Tell us, where do you come from? How did you get to do what you are doing? And what do you do?
Thank you
What
for
don't
those
you do?
wonderful questions.
What do you do? Yes.
Well, I'm originally from Wisconsin. You
yes,
are as well, right?
I sure am from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
yes.
Originally from Wisconsin. Grew up on a farm with goats and chickens and rabbits and ducks and geese.
Which part of Wisconsin was that farm?
Well, Milwaukee area, like the suburbs of the Milwaukee area. Mm-hmm. And then I got my degree in theater performance from the University of Michigan. And then I went to New York City and had a whole career as a theater person for a while. And then I really settled in on music.
And how did you come to that? First off, what was that like in New York in the theater life?
Wow, you're taking me back. It was a very long time ago. I loved the theater. What I didn't love about it was that it was hard to make a living, and I was always dependent on other people or other projects.
Right.
And so I took this great trip to Ireland where I studied Celtic shamanism and got all these downloads from the fairies and the wee folk and the ancient Celts at the stone circles, and I got this message like, stop trying to do other people's work.
Yes.
Do your own. So I stepped away from trying to be part of projects and took the creative liberty into my own hands to write, record, perform, and now I do use theater in my shows, but I'm primarily a musician, entertainer, singer-songwriter, comedienne. I record a lot. So that's kind of how I got to here. Wow,
well, I commend you for listening to those messages from fairies and beyond, and that's usually where we end up in the right spot, is by listening to that.
Well, they didn't give me a choice. It was just sort of like, this is what you're doing. I said, okay, all right.
Well, wise to obey those. And so you went from New York back to Wisconsin, or what was and then did it take some time of transition, or you just hit the ground and start performing solo shows? What was that?
Well, I did start doing. I did a show, Stories in the Stone. You're taking me back, in New York City, where I took that experience in Ireland and put it into sort of like a Celtic cabaret. Yes. And then that was sort of my transition into writing more. And then I recorded technically my second album, because I wrote and recorded my first one when I was 16. Wow. Which you will never hear. And as long as I have something to say about
so
it,
it's
you'll
not,
never
we
hear.
Can't find it if we search enough online?
No, I don't think you could.
Okay.
I don't think you could find it.
Okay.
For a long time, I didn't even have a copy of
it.
Okay. So yeah, I did that at 16, and then my first legitimate, I will call it, release was 99, 2000?
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, so I did a bunch of Irish material. I did an Irish storytelling CD and an Irish songs, and then I just started recording my originals.
Okay.
Now I have, 14, 15 albums, and then I write and record a song every week for Patreon, so there's like 250 plus songs on my Patreon. So I love creating. I love that process. I love writing songs. I love looping. I'm a looping artist.
Oh, awesome.
So I love all the different branches on the tree. Like, I have a hard time winnowing down what I do.
And so, looks like you don't need to. Like, you have this life to do whatever you like to do, whatever's inspiring you that day. Right. Well, tell us about the first song you're going to be sharing with us today.
The first song I'll share with you is called My Selkie Soul. And there's a little story behind it. There's a fisherman who's off in the waters, in the deep, and a storm comes up and it capsizes his boat. Oh my. And he's in the water and he's saying his final prayers and thinking he's taking his last breath. And then he finds himself on the shore, on the sand, with a sealskin to his left and a beautiful woman to his right. And they fall instantly in love, and he courts her, and she would just put her sealskin on and go back out into the sea when she needed to be with her family and be in the water. She'd come back. He proposed, they got married, and then something changed. That was the day that he took her sealskin from her and hid it away. And then they had 2 beautiful children, each born with a sealskin. Each time he took it and hid it away. And she was known to be just looking out at the sea wistfully, sometimes tearful. And one day the children were playing in the attic and came to their mother, staring out at the sea and said, "Mother, mother, what are these?" They'd found 3 sealskins. And she looked at her children and she looked at the sealskins and she looked at the sea and she said, "Children, come with me." And they put on their sealskins and they dove into the sea. And I'd like to think that they would have returned if the fishermen would have seen who they were.
Yes.
And allowed them to be their full selves.
Yes.
And that's the story of the Selkie, and that's what the song's about.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's have a listen.
All right. This is a song about Selkies, half human, half seal. I've known lovers and still felt alone, till your skin touched my skin and caressed my liquid soul. But it's dry here and the waves call me home. Hold me close and let me go, and soon you'll come to know you will always get the best of me. My Selkie soul yearns for the water. My Selkie soul yearns for the sea. And if it's true that you love me, you will set my Selkie soul free. And I promise I will return once my heart's soaked up all of the sea. And if it's true that you love me, you won't take my pelt from me. Please don't take my pelt from me. I belong to nothing and no one, not even the sea. I belong to Great Spirit, and it has not been easy for me to love you and have to leave. Hold me close and let me go, and soon you'll come to know you will always get the best of me. My Selkie soul yearns for the water. My Selkie soul yearns for the sea. And if it's true that you love me, you will set my Selkie soul free. And I promise I will return once my heart's soaked up all of the sea. And if it's true that you love me, you won't take my pelt from me. Please don't take my pelt from me. And if your spirit's true and your soul is pure, then your heart will be my beacon on the shore. I will soon return to you with my undying love for you, and so much more. My Selkie soul yearns for the if it's true that you love me, you won't take my belt from me. And if it's true you really know me, you know I belong to both the land and the sea.
Well, gorgeous song. Can you tell me, do you have vocal training? I mean, I know you were in theater. Your voice, just the incredible way you use it. Did that come natural? Were you a young child singing all the time, or what did it take to grow that voice?
Thank you. I started singing very young, and was always in high school or grade school or wherever I could get into a choir or a performance. And then I did train, like in New York. I trained in my theater training. There was also vocal training within that. And now I do vocal coaching, and I love to teach people what their voices can do, because we have so much space to resonate sound in our bodies, and when we use it, we can create incredible tones and swoopings and textures. And I love teaching vocal workshops to help people with that.
What's something that people commonly don't know, or something that they're surprised at, or something that you guide them to do that they didn't know they could do?
I love this question. And don't get me started, I'll be here all day talking about the voice. When I teach my vocal workshops, what I say to people is, if you learn anything from this, if you learn just one thing, if you take one thing away, I hope it's this, and that is that this is not the voice. This is a very important and integral part of the voice, but what really is the voice is this. This is the voice. And we talked earlier about frequency and sound and resonance. So if I can use this, what it's made for, and not overuse it, right? Because then we create damage and we hurt ourselves, and then we don't have our voices later. You let this do just what it does, and then it's about creating resonance and using the spaces inside. And rather than projecting out, because that's what people say, project, push. It's more like pulling it in, and then it resonates out, almost like you dropped a pebble in a still pond and the water ripples out. So sound comes from everywhere, not just from here. And I love teaching that. I also do sound healing. So I use my voice to vibrate people's cells in their body. So I'll cup my hands like this, and somewhere usually on the back of the body, there's the different chakra systems or different energy centers in the body, and I'll tone directly into that space, vibrate all the tissues, all the cells, all the muscles, and people have incredible results with losing their pain is gone all of a sudden, or their grief is gone, or they feel like there's a part of them that's enlivened. Like if I sing into the back of their heart, it's like they can breathe again. So incredible. I love using the voice in lots of different ways.
Amazing. So you teach, you heal, you perform. What's that like? How do you balance everything? How is it ever overwhelming? Is it just the right flow that you like? What's it like to be Celia?
Wow, it's almost always overwhelming. Yeah, I almost always feel like I'm spinning plates.
Like in a fun, nice way, or in a whoa, hold on?
Yes,
way?
and like I love the performance aspect of things. Like I love entertaining an audience, and I love what we as the collective, the performer and audience, can create together. So people come and they're like, where are my keys? Did I remember to turn off the stove? They're scattered, and we come together, we create resonance, we create connection, and by the end they've forgotten about their stove, and hopefully they didn't turn, they did turn it off. It's just, but they forgot about the troubles, really. And we become one thing together. So I love that aspect of things. I love recording. I love writing. I love creating in every possible way. And when it's like I specialize, but I also diversify, and that's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Because there's the touring aspect of it, there's the performance, there's the recording, there's...
And do you do all this? Do you have like a manager, someone who does this, or do you do all of it?
For the most part, I do all of this. I just hired my assistant, Marie. We've been working together for about 3 months. So we're working on taking some of those administrative things off my plate so I can just do the,
be creative,
you know,
and,
as a performer,
sure.
you absolutely know that the amount of things that we do in the background to make a living at it, to make it sustainable over time, it's immense. You know, I work 12-hour days a lot of the time. And I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. And just like anything, there are pieces that are minutia, and there are pieces that are, oh, I gotta put out that email again. And it's getting easier all the time. And having a fan base that's really supportive, like my Patreon fans got me through the shutdowns because we all had to stop performing there, and my calendar was just full and lush and wonderful, and I worked so hard to put all these things, it's like dominoes, they just all fell down. And then we started doing online concerts, which I was set up for that because I started doing online concerts like 6 years before the shutdowns.
Brilliant,
And like 6 years before the shutdowns, it was like pulling teeth. Like, no, you can watch it online. No, really, you can watch it on your screen. Right, but I can't come. I'm in New Hampshire. It doesn't matter where you are. And then within 2 weeks, 2020 in March, everyone knew what an online concert was. So there's so many different aspects. Is it overwhelming? Yeah. I try to do my yoga and my breathing and my stretching and my walking and my grounding and my focusing. And it's a lot to manage.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes. And so with all the things that you have done and been doing, is there something on the horizon or something you haven't tried or something that you would really like to do, or are you doing it all right now? Is there something kind of in the back of your mind, whether it's a place to go or something else different? Or
Oh, for sure. Always. Yeah. I call it my 57-ring circus. There's like always something conjuring and brewing up here. And what I'm looking forward to doing in the future is creating a certification program for the sound healing, because then I can, once I leave the planet, I can leave that behind so other people can help other people. So I'm looking forward to bringing that together. I'm also looking forward to doing more teaching. And like I'd love to do a drum workshop and teach people how to play that. I love teaching. I love facilitating people's growth. And meeting people where they're at and then pushing them to an edge and expanding. So I have a dream of I have a song called Everyday Goddess, which now people call me the Everyday Goddess.
I remember, that was one of the first songs I heard you play, I think like back at maybe the Blue Dragon or something, or somewhere.
Oh my gosh, you're taking me back, Because I don't live here in Albuquerque, but
this was
the
like,
Blue Dragon, my gosh, Seth, you are...
which is not there anymore, but...
oh, the Wayback Machine, like that left me. Okay, so I have this song called Everyday Goddess, and now people call me the Everyday Goddess, which I didn't set out to do, but that's what ended up happening. And I'd love to create an online school, which is, I love to teach viscerally. Like, rarely will I give you a handout or ask you to take notes. I want you to have a visceral, bodily, kinesthetic experience so that you can access it later when I'm not around or when the group isn't there. So I would love to create educational programming specifically for women that is very interactive. So using art, using poetry, spoken word, using music, using songwriting, using the voice, and bring in a chorale of other women who are going to specialize in their things and call it the Everyday Goddess Play Academy.
I love it.
So and that's just, we don't have enough time for all the stuff.
Well, may we be blessed to not have enough time for all these wonderful things. That's like the worst thing, you're wondering, nothing to do. I mean, better to be busy than bored, we say.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know what that is, what boredom is.
Yeah.
I get tired. I get exhausted sometimes and need to regroup.
Mostly human.
And so far, I think I am. So trying to find the balance in all those things. Now, I don't have children. Like you have one child. You have a child.
Yes.
So that's very different. Like when you step into that role, that takes so much time and energy and focus and presence. So I take what I would have taken it if I had a child into my career and focus on song babies. Like I have countless song babies.
Yes.
But and I have great respect for those who have chosen to bring the children into the world, because that's art too.
Yes. Can you think of who is a very life-changing inspiration support to you in your life, whether it's as a child or in your developing performance career? Is there anyone, I'm sure many people, but just hearing that question right now, is there someone who comes to mind that really affected you in a strong way?
So many. I mean, everyone affects me in a strong way, in one way or another.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to my parents, because when I showed an interest in something, this is true for all of my siblings, there's 4 of us, when I showed interest or they showed interest, it was provided.
Yeah.
So we all took piano lessons, and my brothers showed propensity towards guitar and banjo, and they started performing when they were like 5 and, probably 5 and 7 years old. So I was little itty bitty baby watching them do that. And I remember, here's probably, to answer your question, the most succinct way I can possibly do it. And you can see I can talk.
Let me first tell you how succinct it's going to be. There's a witness.
Like you asked me for the time, and I'm building you a clock, right? So I was in a school gym watching my brothers perform, probably for some 4-H event in Wisconsin, and they would sing harmonies and play together, guitar and banjo, and I got, for the first time in my life, the full body chills from music. And I was like, what is this? I want to do that. I want to create that. This is magic. It was a very magical, kinesthetic, visceral, like full body experience. And I decided right then and there, that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to give that to other people.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my family was a huge...
What a blessing.
And always supportive. It was never, maybe you should study something to fall back on. It was never that.
They have a good dental hygienist program here. You should try it.
No, never.
Well, that's wonderful. To have
that.
a family who honors and encourages is a priceless gift, which I see they are with you always, which is incredible. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this drum we have here, because we're going to close our segment a little bit with a special song you're going to be performing with this. I wonder if you could just tell us a brief little bit about this drum and the song you're going to take us out with.
I feel like I want to hold it while I talk about it. This is my drum. Her name is Thelma. My guitar is Louise. And so this is an Irish drum. It's made out of goat skin, so it's very pliable. Goat skin is like the most pliable skin out there. So what I can do is play it with the back of my hand here and press into it to change the tones. This is called a tipper. It's a double-edged ended stick, and I'll play the drum with both ends of it. Like it will hit and you'll get triplets and things like that. It's called a bodhran, B-O-D-H-R-A-N, which in Gaelic, as I understand, if I'm correct, translation is drum.
Okay.
So it's an Irish instrument. And I just love letting her let me play her. And I usually give her a bow at the end because I just do what she tells me to do.
Okay, well, I sure can't wait to hear this song. What's the name of the piece you're going to be?
It's called Little Broken Wing, and I wrote it after I tried to save a little bird outside of Tommy Makeham's pub in New York City.
Beautiful. Okay, well, Celia, thank you so much for being on the show, and I can't wait to hear this song, and blessings on all you are doing and all you are sharing and all you are gifting so many people, and just may you continue to flourish in strength and joy and inspiration, and look forward to talking again.
All right, thank you so much for having me, Seth.
Thank you for being
here. Good
here.
to see you again.
You too.
Mm-hmm. I found a little bird outside of Tommy Makeham's pub. Saved him from the tires of a yellow taxi cab. To leave a hurting creature sure must be a sin. I always was a sucker for a little broken wing. And it's hi diddle dee. I named him Little Tommy, and it's hi diddle day. What would the neighbors say? For I am no bird. I can sing, but I can't fly. But I promised little Tommy I would try. So I tried. I took that little bird everywhere I would go. into the subways on my way home. His nest was a basket filled with daisies. The passengers were startled to hear the flowers sing, and it's hi-diddle-dee. I named him Little Tommy, and it's hi-diddle-day. What would the neighbors say? For I am no bird. I can sing, but I can't fly. But I promised little Tommy I would try. So I tried. And his feathers grew out and his wings grew strong. I played him Tommy, make him a little Tommy sing along. And for that little bird my heart stayed true. But I am no bird, there's only so much I could do. I've never been the mother to any living thing, but I've always been a sucker for a little broken wing. The tears rolled down my cheeks as I stood there on the bay and watched that daisy basket as it drifted away. And it's hi-diddle-dee, farewell to little Tommy, and it's hi-diddle-day. I tried in every way, but I am no bird. I can sing, but I can't fly. But I promised little Tommy I would try. At least I tried. I found a little bird outside of Tommy Makeham's pub. Saved him from the tires of a yellow taxi cab. To leave a hurting creature sure must be a sin. I always was a sucker for a little broken wing.
All right, we're here with Dennis. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to talk about some of the chapters of your life. You have had a pretty exciting, wonderful life that's still happening
it's still
right
going
now.
on.
Things
You
are
bet,
things
yeah.
are still growing and happening. So tell us a little bit about what chapter shall we start with? Which chapter of Dennis?
It's going to be random, I guess. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I've been in Albuquerque for 50 years.
Okay.
So I guess I'm almost a native.
Yeah, I would say.
But I came in from Kansas in my early 20s, and I had a lot of music going on from age 14 to by the time I got here. And when I arrived in Albuquerque, I didn't really know anybody, and I had a lot of options of what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know where to go. But over time, I wound up having a 30-year teaching degree or teaching career with the Albuquerque.
And would you have thought that as a young kid and early in music days that one day you're going to be a teacher?
My father was a teacher.
Okay, so it was in
among
your
things,
blood.
but yeah,
Got
he was
it.
a teacher,
Right.
so kind of followed his lead there. But I had a 30-year career in APS and a 25 4-year career with the University of New Mexico.
Wow.
And so I taught simultaneously. I'd teach during the day, and then I'd do night classes.
Wow.
And so it kept me quite busy. And so what I did music before I came to Albuquerque, a little bit of music when I got here, and then my teaching career. When I retired, I came back to some music.
Yes.
So, but during the time I was teaching, I didn't really perform, but I did a lot of writing of what I called songs for children.
Yes.
Not really children's music, but
Yeah.
songs for children, songs that got them thinking, songs that got them talking,
Yes.
that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what a wonderful tool to be able to use as a part of yourself and a way to share music with them
Yeah.
without necessarily saying this is music class, but
Yeah.
just to see how it can be in their world.
yeah.
Incredible.
You know, it was interesting in Kansas when I was a kid. You know, I grew up in western Kansas, a little town called Hayes, about 8,000 people, and I did typical things. I had a paper route and I had a lawn mowing business, and so I kind of made money doing that. And then something happened in, I think it was February of 1964,
Okay.
that changed me and changed a lot of people, and that was the Beatles. They performed on Ed Sullivan,
Wow.
and all of a sudden, all over the country, there were bands just starting to pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then-
I want to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and that included Hayes, Kansas.
Wow.
All these bands just all over the place. Where are these guys coming from? There's these bands. And a friend of mine came to my house one day and knocked on the door and said, I want you to be in my band. I said, okay.
And you did not play?
I did not play. I said, what do you want me to play? He said, I want you to play bass guitar. I said, wow, that's just like Paul McCartney. Of course I'll do that. He said, well,
Nice.
first what we have to do is get a bass guitar and then learn how to play it.
That
And
doesn't
of
seem
course,
too tough.
he was learning how to play guitar as well, so
cool.
we didn't really know much about it, and but we learned together. And so I went down to a little office, Sears and Roebuck mail order office in Hayes, and I ordered a bass guitar.
Wow.
And I can't remember what I paid for it, $50, $70, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money to me back then.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to wait 2 weeks for it to come, and I check every day, is it here, is it here?
Yeah.
And finally it showed up, and I had this cherry red Kent guitar, Kent bass guitar, Kent. The strings were about that far off the neck,
Oh my.
but it had a humbucking pickup, and it sounded so good. And so
And you'd had like an amplifier?
I
already?
wound up with that. I don't know where I got the amp. I
Okay.
did wind up with an amp. I didn't buy it.
Okay.
So somebody loaned it to me, but
Sure,
to this day I have no idea where it
Okay.
came from.
Yeah, okay.
So I go down to my friend's house. We'd sit in his garage, dirt floor garage, and we had a guitar chord chart, and we had Righteous Brothers records, and we were learning Righteous Brothers songs. And simple things. I'll give you a short sample
Sure.
of one of those. Let me tell you about my baby, little Latin loop-a-loop. She's my high-flying baby, there ain't no dance she cannot do. So just very simple chords, but we put it together. And pretty soon we got the band going.
So
and
that was like one of the earliest songs where Righteous
that was one of the
Brothers-
earliest songs we did,
okay.
and one of the first songs we learned.
And did
is
you
the-
sing also back then?
I did, but I wasn't. I sang backup.
Okay.
No lead vocals.
They
at all.
gave you a microphone. You were
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so we formed the band. We had guitar player, bass player, drummer, sax, keyboard player,
Okay.
and we got to be a pretty good little band. We learned a whole bunch of tunes, and pretty soon we were playing all over the city.
Wow.
We played
So
a lot of-
within that first day in the garage till your first gig, what time span? How
I'll
long
give
was
it 6 months.
Okay.
We probably shouldn't have been playing a gig, but 6 months, but we did.
Uh-huh.
But we were playing school dances and played at the swimming pool. That was a big deal.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And pretty soon we got to get into, and we were young kids, into some of the local beer joints.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Horse Inn, we were the house band for the Dark Horse Inn on Friday afternoon club. So we played quite a bit during that. And then we kind of branched out, played a couple jobs in Nebraska, I think one in Oklahoma, and
And your family was supportive, or?
Pretty much, yeah. They didn't like the beer joint stuff, but because I was 15 years old.
Yeah,
you know.
wow.
Um,
I'm glad they let you in there. Yeah.
we were together for a while, and then another band in Hayes came and knocked on my door and said, you know, we're looking for a bass player, and we'd like you to be in the band.
But you were in another band?
I was still with a band called The Tempests.
Okay.
And I think we have a picture of The Tempests. I don't know if you can show it or not, but
we'll go through
okay.
those slides. I mean, after this.
Anyway, and so the band was going well, and then the Soul Express came by and said, we need a bass player. And I said, okay. And I thought, this is a band that's a little bit older. They have more experience, and they have a bus. They have a band bus. So I said yes, not thinking about the consequences.
Yeah.
So I had to go next day and say to the Tempest guys, I'm leaving the band. Going with the Soul Express.
Wow.
And so the Soul Express came along, and we were playing Sam and Dave and Wilson Pickett and some James Brown, that kind of stuff. We hadn't tackled.
And by this point, you were feeling like a pretty solid bass player. By this point, or still learning?
Pretty good about it. You know, we were playing some good solid music. We hadn't tackled any Beatles yet.
Yeah.
They were just a little bit more complex than we needed.
Yeah, people don't realize about the Beatles.
Yeah. Stuff like this. She was just 17, you know what I mean, and the way she looked was way beyond compare. I'll never dance with another. Ooh, I saw her stand in there. So we got into some Beatles, but mainly Wilson Pickett, a little bit of Temptations, you know. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. Those kinds of tunes. And just really, and we were a good band. We started playing.
Just sitting next to you, I'm imagining a lot of people will like to invite you over to their house to hang out and.
I've had those invitations, but I'm retired.
Yeah.
You know, I'm retired.
Yeah.
But Soul Express started playing an 18-state area.
Wow.
We had the
That's
bus.
major.
You know,
wow.
we could get there. We could bring our equipment.
And
so
you stay in like hotels or where?
Sometimes, usually it was all-night drives.
Okay.
So we stayed in the bus and got a hotel to clean up and play the gig, and then midnight we'd hit the road again and
you were like,
move on.
Any crazy stories like throwing the TVs out the window like some of these bands
We
do?
have some of those.
Is that right?
We didn't throw a TV out, threw a couple of radios out, a bunch of Coke bottles, you know, that kind of stuff. We shouldn't have done that, but we did. But we were playing some really good places. Some of the old ballrooms back in the Midwest, and I think there's.
Yeah, maybe we'll show those pictures.
Oh, okay.
We have a little like a slideshow of a few different pictures.
There's a place called the Hollyhock Ballroom in Hatfield, Minnesota, and Stony Point Ballroom in Watertown, South Dakota. The Hidden Paradise Bar in Long Pine, Nebraska. We just played kind of all over the place. We were playing the Macamba Club in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we kind of made some good inroads, and it was a great band. Did a lot of traveling, did I think 3 summer tours. Yeah. And the summer tours were pretty hard. You know, they were night after night after night. We played probably 80 gigs each summer. Wow. And so there's a lot of traveling, a lot of and a little bit of burnout, but we hung in there. We played, stayed together. But these old ballrooms were the real key for us. You know, because the ballrooms had been there forever, and they had basketball dance floors. They were really pristine. And people like Glenn Miller and Cal Basie, Harry James, Benny Goodman, they all played those places.
So you're there and you're thinking who is stood
on the stage that those guys played at. So, and then at the end of our 3rd summer tour, we were supposed to play at the Hollyhock Ballroom in Hatfield, Minnesota, and the bus broke down.
Oh my!
And we didn't make the gig, and we sat in the bus and looked at each other, and we all agreed, this is it. We're done.
Is that right?
Yeah. So.
So if that bus hadn't broken down, it maybe would have come sooner. That was
I think we were on the verge of breaking anyway. It was time. So we got back to Hayes, and within 2 days, another band called. Spider and the Crabs. Wow, Spider and the Crabs, they're from Lawrence, Kansas. You know, they're advertised on KOMA radio out of Oklahoma City, and they want me to be their bass player. So I joined the Spider and the Crabs, and we ventured out and played an even bigger area, some of the same ballrooms, but even some better ones. And the Spider and the Crabs, we were a 9-piece band, as was the Soul Express and the Tempest.
So 9-piece, your basic drums and bass and the horn section.
Yeah, we had two trumpets, trombone, sax, sometimes 2 saxes, kind of traded off. But,
yeah.
A 9-piece band, Hammond B3 organ, big sound, huge sound. And so Spider and the Crabs played a lot of jobs as well. Did the summer tours, booked out of Lawrence, Kansas.
And do you have any recordings or anything of any of these bands?
I should have mentioned that earlier. I had a Roberts 770X reel-to-reel tape recorder that I carried with me, and I made hundreds of recordings.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds. I had reel-to-reel tapes on a shelf that stretched.
Yeah.
But I have donated all those reel-to-reel tapes to the Kansas Historical Society in Topeka, Kansas.
Yes.
Because they're putting together an exhibit for Kansas bands.
Yes. So tell us all, in addition to a long career, you've been recognized. Can you tell us a little bit about both Kansas and...
Yeah, well, after the Crabs came another band called the Red Dogs, Lawrence, Kansas. Red Dog Inn, you'll see it on the poster.
Yeah, we'll watch
but
that.
After those bands dissolved, and of course they did after a couple of years, I had a call 25 years later from the Kansas Music Hall of Fame, the president.
Yeah.
He said, we'd like to induct you into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame. I said, oh yeah, I like that.
Sure.
And so over the years, what happened was the Tempest became inducted, Soul Express became inducted, Spider and the Crabs were inducted, and the Red Dogs were inducted into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame. So I went back to Lawrence, Kansas 4 times and performed with most of the original guys.
Amazing.
And then a couple of years ago, had another phone call from South Dakota, and the Spider and the Crabs, and later on the Red Dogs were inducted into the South Dakota Rock and Roller Hall of Fame for our contributions to music.
Here's some of these.
It's on the screen right there. So,
incredible. And Dennis Fox.
Yeah, and the Fox.
Any can you give us a little background of how?
I can give you a little bit.
Unless it's personal, I don't want to pry.
Actually, it's pretty simple. Most of the guys in the band had a nickname.
Yeah.
So we had a fox, we had a wolf, we had a bean, we had a tree, we had a buffalo, we had a rat, and we're just, the names kind of stuck.
Okay.
And most of the people in the towns didn't know us by any other name.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'd go in, Dennis Higgins, they go, who's that? I said, Fox. Oh, I know that guy. Same with the bean. I know that guy.
Wow, incredible.
That kind of thing.
Wow.
And then what happened was, after the bands dissolved and everyone went their separate ways, and I decided I didn't want to go back to Kansas. And I kind of exhausted my possibilities there. And we'd driven through with the Red Dogs Albuquerque, because we did trips from Boston to Los Angeles to Minot to Houston.
Yeah, so you passed through.
Yeah, we actually did a 6-month tour in Waikiki Beach, Honolulu, Hawaii.
Wow, not
but
bad.
I remember going through Albuquerque with the band, and I liked Albuquerque. So I said, guys, I'm going to Albuquerque. Didn't know anybody. I got my Volkswagen bus, got my bass, my high school diploma, and probably about $20. And I moved to Albuquerque, and I joined a band.
Wow.
And that band that
and
I joined.
What year was this?
1972 or 3, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And the band Sky Blue, we played quite a bit around town, mostly at a place called the Hog's Breath Saloon on North San Mateo.
Okay.
It's no longer there.
Yeah.
But it put me through school.
Incredible.
I was going to school during the day, playing jobs at night. But it gave me enough money to get my degree.
Amazing.
And I got my degree in 1980, teaching degree in 1980, and then started writing children's songs.
Incredible.
So,
and you have grandchildren? You're a grandfather now?
I have Yes, I have grandchildren. I have 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren, 3 of which live here in Albuquerque and
Yes.
1 in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay. And you, I imagine you share music with them, and that's...
I do all the time. My one in Louisville is a little bit older, and he's the bass player.
Yeah.
So he's playing bass guitar in Louisville, Kentucky, and drums sometimes.
Yes. And so do your grandkids, I'm sure they've heard of this earlier chapters of your life as a rock star,
Not
if you
too
will.
much.
So they
No,
don't...
Not too much.
Is that
No,
right?
they hear me playing guitar all the time and hear me playing my children's songs, but not too much about being on the road with bands.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit young for that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So I imagine that's a good way. They'll always have this. They'll be able to look back on pictures
there we
like
go.
these
Sky blue,
to see that their grandpa was a pretty cool dude. Did
There
some
we
pretty
go,
cool,
yeah.
pretty cool things.
That's right.
Incredible. So what did you, all these different chapters as far as what's guided you as far as it just sort of, this feels like the thing to do when you've had this big decisions to make, whether going from one band to another or, changing that trajectory of life to teaching?
I just had a desire to keep going. You know,
Just keep moving.
When I was doing the band thing, I really enjoyed working with other musicians. I really wanted to keep doing that, and I got lucky. You know,
Yeah.
people called me and said, "We want you in the band." And then after the bands broke up, I looked back, and my father, of course, was the teacher, so I wanted to be one of the best teachers there could be.
Yeah.
And
you've been honored for your teaching
I am.
as well.
I
Can you tell us
took
just a
the
little
Golden
bit about
Apple in, I think, 2007.
that? Amazing.
My wife and I were inducted into the Teacher Hall of Fame for twice exceptionalities
Wow.
in Studio City, California, a couple of years ago.
Incredible.
My wife has her own story about education.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get her on the
And
show one
maybe,
day.
maybe we can.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she's not a musician, so.
Yeah. That's
but-
okay. We have well, I mean, it sounds like you found a perfect partner in your wife.
I have, absolutely.
Well, it's incredible the life that you have lived and you're still living. You're still going strong.
Still writing
And I'm
songs
sure you can spend someday just reminiscing of the different chapters.
I do.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a song that I wrote when I was in the classroom. The end of the day tended to be pretty hectic.
Yes.
And we get so busy, and 3 o'clock or whatever time was like, 2 minutes away. We got to pack up and get out of here. And it was like a tornado. It was
Yes.
just kids running everywhere. And
Sure.
I was, God, we gotta get the bus, get on the bus. And so I wrote this song called Goodbye.
Okay.
And I put it on CD, and I had a CD player on a timer in my classroom.
Yeah.
And so 10 minutes before quitting time, that song would start playing. And the kids would hear it and go, oh, I need to casually pack up here.
Let's wind
And they
down
did.
here.
It was a nice, gentle goodbye, goodbye. And I actually was writing songs for Head Start and did a lot of observations in classrooms, and I noticed the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Pretty hectic.
Yeah.
And I gave that song to Head
What a
Start.
brilliant tool.
And
Brilliant.
they use it.
Wow. Well, and you understand are going to do the honor of taking us out with that song.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Dennis, thank you so much. You are an inspiration as a musician, as a teacher, as a grandfather, just as a friend, as a just all around.
This has been an honor to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the story of the chapters of your life, and I hope your grandchildren, I'm sure they are very blessed to have you, as your whole family is, and congratulations on all the areas you've been recognized in. So it's a true honor to be sitting here and talking with you.
Thank you.
And blessings, continued strength and goodness in all you do. And,
Absolutely.
And let's take it out with goodbye. It's called Goodbye?
It's called Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. Thank you so much.
Goodbye, goodbye, the school day is done. Goodbye, goodbye, we had so much fun. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, we all did our best. Goodbye, goodbye, go home and get some rest. Goodbye, goodbye, tomorrow's a brand new test. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye,